Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of this Atlanta United recap. This week we ended up playing Minnesota in a game that was basically the two new expansion teams going head to head. Last week, Minnesota ended up losing, I believe, 5-1 against Portland, if I remember correctly. So this week we ended up playing them at home in the snow. The snow was crazy the entire game. You can kind of not really see it that much in this highlight video, but watching on TV, okay, you can kind of see it here. The snow was insane. There ended up being snow blow breaks where they had to make sure that you could see the box, the line for the box. But Atlanta played absolutely insane, which was awesome to see. Joseph was pushing the back line very Lewandowski-esque wise. He was pushing on the back shoulder of the center back. He was offsides a few times, but not too bad. Here, in my opinion, Lorenowitz basically just made it so that Carmona is for sure getting back into the team this weekend against Chicago, in my opinion. I think that was just an unnecessary PK to give away. I know we're playing in the snow, but still, he's a veteran MLS player. You expect more out of him. Almiron's goal here, when we were watching this game at the watch party, it was like I could just feel it inside of me that Almiron was going to score from that position. I knew he was going to try it, and so long as he got a good touch on it, it was going to be beautiful. This Martinez was able to get the ball past the keeper. He tried this earlier in the game, and he actually ended up being on offside, but it was really awesome to see him onside at this point and was able to bring in his hat trick. And then at this point, Peterson had come into the game for Villalba, which we'll get into in a minute, and ended up grabbing himself a header and his first goal for the club. So really awesome game. 6-1 ended up had the most goals scored ever by an expansion team, and Minnesota broke the record for most goals conceded by an MLS team in the first two games, I believe. So really bad start for them, really awesome start for us. Now getting into this, we are actually starting a new career mode. I know I was running through that previous career mode, but it didn't feel right because I didn't have the right numbers on a lot of players, and I didn't have a lot of the players that I needed to actually make up the squad. So I actually ended up putting the Atlanta United players on a new team so that I could get a red and black kit and then also an all white kit. I think it looks a little bit better than the team that I was using prior to. And going into this match, it was against NYCFC for the first game of the season. The starting lineup is very much what we used against Red Bulls. I believe, yeah, I had Carmona and Gressel, who actually ends up getting injured here for the next 3 months, so that really sucks. If you guys are wondering, I did add in Julian Gressel. I added in Andrew Carlton, Miles Robinson, Tambakis, and Kenwin Jones are all in the team. I wanted to go ahead and add them into the game, so I just created them. I think the best rating that I gave to a player was obviously Kenwin Jones, a 71 rated because he was 72 last year, so I figured that was pretty even. And then for Gressel, I think I gave him a 64 rating, so a little bit good rating there, but he is starting for the club and he's been doing really well, so I think he definitely deserves that mid-range 60 rating as a kind of younger player in the league. So obviously they're all going to have insane potentials so long as I train them correctly, so it's totally possible that all of them end up getting absurdly high rating, and then it may end up getting kind of cheap, but hopefully I don't actually make it that long in this career mode because Atlanta United will be added into the game at some point. One can only hope. So what I wanted to talk about a lot in this episode was actually Hector Villalba. Now, he was a player that when we signed him, I believe it was before Almiron, so he was kind of the big name that in my mind was going to be the star player for us next to Kenwin and some of these other players that we got in. But ideally, Villalba was supposed to be the superstar. Now, obviously, we made the signing of Joseph Martinez, Miguel Almiron, Yamil Assad has grown into his own in the team as well. Gressel's done incredibly well at center mid. There's a lot of players that are playing really, really well. But it feels like on the right side of the pitch, Villalba just can't seem to figure out what he's trying to do with the team. And I'm in no way saying he's bad in any way, shape, or form, My worry, however, comes with, is he ever going to get comfortable with this squad? So I'm kind of just waiting to see. I almost wonder if he would play better on the left with Greg Garza, a player that he trained with at Club Tijuana last year, more so than he's comfortable with a player like Mears, who has been pushing up the field a lot, both in the first and second game. Garza as well pushed up a lot in this second game against Minnesota, but he didn't play like that the first time around. So I wonder if that affects his play style, but it doesn't seem like his chemistry is just on the same level as some of the other players. He definitely had good moments, don't get me wrong. Again, incredible player. I think he will do a lot for our team, but as of right now, I just don't know if he is as comfortable as he needs to be starting for our team. That being said, I don't know if we can really put him as a substitute because Tata Martino seems to bring in players really, really late in the games, making the earliest substitution, I think, in this last game in like the 70th-ish minute, and in the first game he waited until the 80th minute, so I don't want to see Villalba come on that late. I think he'd be good for maybe the entire second half, or 50, 60 minutes into the game he comes in. I'm not sure what he needs to do to kind of progress and get more comfortable with the team, but when Peterson came in, it just felt like there was a different dynamic to the team. Peterson, a pretty tall player himself, can get into the box, and then obviously he had Kenwin alongside of him, but he made good passes, he made good runs, and he just looked like he was more comfortable playing right there next to Mears. So again, it just kind of makes me wonder, is there kind of a miscomfort there with Hector Villalba? I'm hoping not. I'm hoping he proves me wrong in this game against Chicago on Saturday, and he ends up, grabbing a couple goals for himself, because I think that's kind of what he needs to find himself a little bit more comfortable. Just get a few passes in. That'll definitely get him feeling a little bit better. And then, grab a goal, grab a couple more assists. I mean, he is getting assists. So again, he's not doing poorly by definition. I just think he could be playing better to his potential. I expected a lot more of him, which again, maybe was kind of my misconception on what he was going to bring to the team. You really can't complain whenever you're winning 6-1 and then only losing 2-1 to arguably the best team in the country for the past few years. So I think we're playing well. I think this game against Chicago is going to be very telling. They're kind of that mid-table to upper level side of the MLS. So it's going to be very interesting to see how we perform against them. I think it's going to be somewhere obviously in the middle of a 6-1 victory against the worst team in the league to a 2-1 loss against the best team in the league. If we can get off to a hot start, I really do think we're going to win. Talking a little bit more, though, about this career mode. Again, I'm hoping that this is only temporary, but we are going to play it out at least for a season or two. What I do want to know from you guys, if you did make it this far in the video, is would you like to see me do a MLS in Premier League football kind of series? And by that I mean I did a series last year with Seattle Sounders. I took the entire MLS and put them in League One. This year I think I'd actually put them in Championship instead, just because it ends up not causing as many problems with the squads and the players that are going to end up leaving, because they're not playing at a big enough team. So I'm going to put them in the Championship. They're going to work their way either to the Premier League or down to League One, and then MLS teams are going to be scattered throughout the league, and it'll kind of create an interesting storyline. And definitely for me, playing with Atlanta United, it'll give me the opportunity to play against a lot of the big teams. I ended up playing Tottenham in the FA Cup in our first season, and then once I made it to the Premier League, obviously it gave us a whole nother challenge of playing all of the Premier League sides. I think it gives the series a little bit more longevity. Like I said, we're probably going to play a normal MLS career mode for a season or two, kind of see how I can do with these players, and then move on our career mode to maybe a player career mode, and then also possibly moving on to that English MLS hybrid kind of league that I'm thinking about doing. If that's something that interests you guys, let me know down in the comment section below. It definitely will help me get a good grasp on what you guys are kind of interested in seeing. I know there's not that much Atlanta United content going on, especially with them not in the game yet. If you guys think those ratings were pretty good, let me know. If you think maybe the ratings should change for my next career mode I do with Atlanta United, let me know as well. Obviously, it's kind of just hit or miss on what I kind of believe players should be rated. I think I did a pretty decent job. And then in this game, as you guys just saw, against Orlando City in the second game of the season, we actually managed to grab a goal with Carmona. He's going to be our first goal scorer for the team. Obviously not as good of a goal as Yamil Assad's in real life, but definitely a good cross and header nonetheless. So managed to grab our first goal. Ended up with that draw against NYCFC, which I was kind of comfortable with because it's a very strong team. Now the last thing that I wanted to get to, as you see this goal from Yamil Assad, is the fact that if you guys noticed in the NYCFC game, Frank Lampard was still in the squad. So the problem is currently, because of the Atlanta United stuff going on with FIFA, they pulled a lot of players out of the game, and I think the only two that are left over are Hector Villalba and Almiron, sorry. And then I believe Greg Garza might also be in the team. But those are like the only three players out of the like 15-ish players that are actually in the game. So it kind of creates a problem when you're trying to make a career mode. But a lot of the players were in the game at the start of the game. So I actually had to reset all the squads because I had downloaded roster updates. And then once I did that, obviously all of the transfer window stuff, all of the Frank Lampards and whatnot of retiring and everything like that had ended. So it brought all of those players back. All the players went back to their original team. So the lineups are going to be a little weird. And again, this is why I need Atlanta United added to the game so that we can actually go ahead and move on with these career modes in the right way. Other than that, that's going to be the end of this episode. If you guys did enjoy, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Hopefully I'll have another episode of our career mode out this week before the Atlanta United Chicago Fire game on Saturday. Again, I'm going to try to record a little bit at the tailgate, a little bit of the fans marching into the stadium and stuff like that to give you guys a little bit more content to watch from my point of view. And we'll have another highlight video probably next Monday. Sunday, Monday is probably going to be the day that it's going to come out. So again, if you guys did enjoy, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And until the next one, I will see you guys later.